Dear viewers, this is yet another video on Expert Speaks this Tuesday. In this edition, we are going to talk to you about how to offset different types of losses that could be there in a year while you file your income tax returns. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant Bhatt, your financial guide.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, we here at NRI Money Clinic are trying to solve many of the problems faced by the NRI community. We are in a position to solve the problems faced by this community here in India. But our NRI community has lots of questions, lots of problems in the countries where they are living. If you are a professional who is working in US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Eurozone, Singapore, Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, China, or any other countries where you have an NRI community, you have a chance to appear on our channel. If you are one of the professionals, chartered public accountant, a tax specialist, financial planner, or advisors in any other financial field, then probably we have an interest in you and you get a chance to appear on our channel. If you are interested to appear on our channel to discuss the problems faced by the NRI community in your respective countries, please send us a WhatsApp message on the number shown here on the screen. We'll get in touch with you and we explore the possibilities of associating with you. Our faculty for today is our popular chartered accountant, Mr. Sriram Rao. Mr. Sriram Rao is a very popular figure on NRI Money Clinic. He has appeared on different videos simplifying the different tax aspects which are applicable to NRIs. In today's episode, he will talk to us about how one can offset the losses that could be there in different transactions in a year while you file your income tax return. Mr. Sriram Rao is a practicing chartered accountant and he is a partner at Nitin J. Shetty & Co. He has to his credit serving the high net worth community which is spread across the globe, and he has solved many of their tax queries. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sriram Rao.
Thank you.
Mr. Sriram Rao, one of the things people keep asking or asking for guidance is that, see, during the course of financial transactions, at times there results are losses. Buying or selling of property, buying of shares, or some speculation, the losses might come during a financial year.
Yes.
They are asking me the question, can this loss be offset against the profit, or while filing the tax returns, losses have to be treated separately or income has to be treated separately? How the taxes have to be paid? Can you please explain to the benefit of our audience how this issue has to be understood?
Before answering this question, one need to understand that there are 5 heads of income while computing the tax of a particular person in India. So these 5 heads of income comprises of salary, income from house property, that is rental incomes, income from business or a profession, income from capital gains, and income from any other sources apart from all these 4. Now, if any one item of income that is having losses during the year, that loss can be offset against any other income, that is called as setting off of losses during that particular year. That means income is earned during that particular year and a loss also is there from any other type of operations or the income that you earn or a transaction what you entered, that can be offset. Invariably it will be allowed to be offset. So this is called as setting off of losses. If at all after setting off of losses, if there is any excess loss remains during that particular year, that would be allowed to be carried forward to the future years and offset against the similar incomes which you earn in future years. So this is called as setting off of losses and carrying forward.
You mentioned that yes, losses can be offset against different heads of account.
Yes, invariably right? It will be allowed.
Yeah, inter-head, intra-head, or brought forward losses. Right?
Yes.
But is there a chronology or is there a hierarchy to say that okay, first the losses have to be adjusted against this, or you can adjust it as you feel like under any heads of account. How does that work actually in the practical side of while filing the tax return?
Yes. Now, as you mentioned, there are different heads. As I told, there are different heads of income. So there is a particular way in which the losses has to be set up. Of course, this any particular way is not prescribed in specific under the Act. However, the layout of the sections gives a indication that offset of losses has to be done in a particular manner, and even the courts have held that the offsetting of losses has to be done in a particular manner. Again, there are certain exceptions, but let us understand generally how it has to be done. Now, if at all a person is having 2-3 business, or say he is having 2-3 properties which are rented out, so all the rental incomes whatever he is earning during the year, that will be aggregated under the head income from house property. And if one of that particular rental is having a loss during the year, maybe because of the interest payout what he is doing on the loans what he has got against that particular property, or any other manner, so if there is a loss of that and he has income under the same head of income, that is rental income from another property, that can be offset. That is called as intra-head income. Similarly, in capital gains also this may be there. Similarly, it may be there in business also. He might be having 2-3 business operations. So whatever income earned under one head of business, and there may be losses from some other business. So this income and losses can be offset again within the same head of income. This is called as inter-head adjustment. So this has to be first done. Then we will get what is called as aggregate income that is earned under a particular head of income. That again can be offset. If there is a loss under a particular head of income, that can be offset against income earned under some other head of income. So this is called as inter-head adjustments. First is intra-head adjustment, that is within the head. Then between the head, that is called as inter-head adjustment. After that, if there is any income and you have already brought forward losses, that is carry forward losses of earlier years, that is brought forward to this year, that needs to be offset. This is what the hierarchy is. So this way is the offsetting of losses has to be done while preparing a computation of income.
Okay. Mr. Sriram, you said that losses can be adjusted against 3 different headings. You said
Yes.
intra-head,
Inter-head,
inter-head,
yes,
and brought forward losses.
Correct.
Right?
within the same head, between the different heads, and brought forward losses.
Brought
from
forward
previous
losses.
years.
My question to you is, can we accept it as a general rule, or within this general rule, are there any exceptions or something which we should be note of, or just I can take it as that? Are there any exception to the rules?
Yes, there are few exceptions for intra-head adjustments. So I will first explain what are those exceptions for intra-head adjustments. Then we will go to the other part of it. Now this intra-head adjustments have got generally 3 exceptions. The 3 exceptions are particularly in respect of any income or any losses for that matter earned from a crypto or NFT, which is generally called as income earned from virtual digital assets. So if any losses has been incurred from any one particular transaction from a virtual digital asset, which is crypto or your NFTs or any other VDA, that cannot be offset. That cannot be offset against income of the similar crypto, or it may be income from NFT earned during the same year and in a different transaction. The income earned of one transaction and the losses earned in another transaction, that cannot be offset at all. So this is the first exception and the major exception when it comes to adjustment, intra-head adjustments, within the head adjustments. Then comes is, if there is any loss from speculation business, if there is any loss from speculation business, that cannot be offset against any income earned from ordinary business operations. Speculation business in the sense, if there is any income earned from intraday trading of shares, so that is a speculation business. So that cannot be offset against ordinary business income what one may earn during the same year. So if there is any loss from that speculation business, that has to be carried forward to the future years. That will be allowed to be carried forward. Okay, this is the second exception. So after that, there is one third exception. The third exception being, if there is a long-term capital loss, that can be offset against only long-term capital gain. That cannot be adjusted against short-term capital gain which may earned by that particular person in that particular year. So these are the majorly three exceptions for adjustment of these losses, intra-head losses.
Okay.
Like that.
So government is very particular about cryptos now.
Yeah.
So you can't even offset losses against within the year. The government is seeing it as transaction basis. One
Yes.
transaction, if it results in loss, that's it.
Yes.
But I will not allow it to be offset
Against income.
In another transaction, you get the profit, you pay the tax.
You pay the tax. Finish.
So it is actually a prohibition almost to an extent that don't get into cryptos.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
In case of speculation, it is allowed, at least day trading,
Yes.
futures option, if there is a loss, that can be offset
Different
similar
transactions,
headings
yes,
can be done.
yes.
I understand in case of long term, there is a differential rate of taxation with respect to long term capital gains tax.
Yes.
So if it cannot be adjusted, that's understandable.
Yes.
Okay. So other than that, what you have said between these three headings,
Yes.
capital
Within the
loss-
head adjustments, all the types of adjustments are possible.
Okay, right. Sriram, you told about intra-head. I understood it very clearly, as well as the exceptions that are there with respect to intra-head
Yes.
capital loss offset.
Yes.
What is inter-head setting off of
Yeah.
losses?
So now once you determine what is your total aggregate income under a particular head, that is, maybe you might be having a house property income, you might be having business income. One is positive. Say you are having losses from house property which is negative, but you may have income from business which is positive. You can adjust these losses against this income.
Okay.
Okay, it can be other way around also. You are having a business loss, you are having capital gain profit, that can be offset.
Okay.
So this is called as between the head adjustments, that is inter-head adjustments.
Okay.
Between the two heads there can be adjustment which is called as inter-head adjustment. This is also allowed.
Okay.
Okay, generally everything is allowed.
Okay. As you said, as a hierarchy, first intra-head, if it cannot be offset, if there are losses in another head of account,
That
then this can be
inter-head.
allowed.
Yes.
Okay. Now the follow-up question is, you said there are certain exceptions in case of intra-head.
Correct.
When you offset the losses against inter-head items,
Huh.
are there again exceptions?
Yes, there are a few exceptions. For the matter of fact, I can say there are 3 exceptions in specific. So one is, if any person is having business losses, losses under the head business, the total head of income is loss. So that loss cannot be offset against income from salary.
Okay.
That cannot be offset against income from salary. Okay, this is the first exception. Okay, then second exception is, if you have losses under the head capital gains, that is long term capital gain, short term capital gain, that cannot be offset against any head of income.
Okay.
It cannot be offset against any head of income. If there is a loss under capital gains, that cannot be offset against any head of income.
So that's ruled out. Capital
Ruled out.
gains or capital losses, that's
Ruled
a
out.
different category by
Yes,
together. Right.
yes. Then the third exception here is, if you are having loss under the head house property, that is rental losses, if you are having that, then up to rupees 2 lakhs you are allowed to offset against any income.
Any income.
Yes. If your loss is more than 2 lakh rupees during a particular year, the exceeding amount cannot be offset during the year. It has to be carried forward to future years.
Okay, so the maximum limit in case of income from house property is 2 lakhs to be
Yes,
offset.
if there is a loss under the head house property, only 2 lakh can be offset against other heads of income.
Okay, okay.
So more than that has to be carried
These
forward.
are the
These are the 3
these are
exceptions.
the 3 exceptions.
Yes,
Okay. Sriram, you said about intra-head and inter-head.
correct,
But there is one chance. A person may be having a lot of losses,
correct.
and the losses are so huge that it can't be offset against intra-head or inter-head. Then what happens?
If one cannot offset the losses what he has earned during the year with any head of income, say maybe intra-head or inter-head, then such losses, either that cannot be offset because the losses are more than the income, or it is specifically prohibited. That comes under the exceptions what we have already discussed. So if those kind of losses are there, that will be allowed to be carried forward, and it can be carried forward to the return of income of the future years, where you might be having the similar incomes, which will be considered as the brought forward losses in the future years. You will be having the similar incomes from the same head of income, that will be allowed to be offset in the future years. So this is what happens if you are having a excess losses or losses which are prohibited to be offset against any other income, that can be carried forward to the future years to be offset against the similar income what you may earn during the future years.
Okay. So that provision is given. So
Yes.
you don't have to go through the pain that, oh, I lost money and next year I have to pay taxes.
Yes.
The government has given you a provision
Correct.
to carry it forward.
Correct.
One follow-up question.
Hmm.
You say that the losses can be carried forward and offset against the future income.
Correct.
Should it be very next year, or is there a timeline to which it can be carried forward, or is there any limitations around it?
Correct. Now one need to understand here that generally for almost all types of losses which one may earn during a particular year would be allowed to be carried forward for a maximum of 8 years.
What's the upper limit is 8 years.
8 years, that is the maximum. So in during this 8 years time, whenever you earn incomes under the same head, you can go on offsetting.
Okay.
But again, the hierarchy has to be followed in that year also. First intra-head, then inter-head, then you come, if there is an income, even after adjustment of all these things under the same head, then you offset. Okay, offset the brought forward losses. So this hierarchy has to be followed, and maximum of 8 years you can carry forward and offset. After 8 years, that will be lapsed. The losses will be lapsed. You can't further carry forward, so you cannot further offset also.
Okay.
However, there will be certain exceptions.
Even for this limitation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as I've said, the losses from virtual digital assets, cryptos and NFTs, etc., that cannot be carried forward at all.
Okay.
There is no option of either set off nor the option of carry forward. Okay. So this is one exception. Second exception is if there is any depreciation loss in a business, that can be carried forward indefinitely.
So no 8 years limitation when it comes to question of depreciation
losses.
That's for a businessman.
For a businessman.
Yeah.
And if somebody incurs any losses from speculation, that can be carried forward for a maximum of 4 years only, not 8 years.
Okay. So in case of depreciation, unlimited period.
Unlimited period.
General cases 8 years.
8 years.
Cryptos nil.
Nil.
Speculation 4 years maximum.
4 years maximum.
That's the thumb rule we can say.
Yes.
Okay. Till such time you have a chance to set it off again.
Yes. Any income what you.
Future income.
Yes.
Right. Sriram, one common problem that might happen, I should have asked you this question when I was discussing inter-head losses.
Okay.
But I forgot to ask you, I'll ask you now.
Okay.
Long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains are very common in case of properties, and there is so many cases.
Yes.
Likewise, trading in shares, creating a long-term or short-term losses
Correct.
is also very common.
Correct.
Is it possible for somebody to offset losses that are happening because of the share market losses, be it mutual fund or equity or direct shares or whatever it is, against a long-term or a short-term capital gains of properties?
Very good question, and here the answer would be yes, it is possible, but as I have already explained, one need to see and offset only short-term losses against either long-term capital gain or short-term capital gain.
Okay.
And long-term losses can be offset only against long-term capital gain, be it may from shares or be it may from immovable property.
Okay.
It can be offset.
So it's possible to offset with the shares and properties.
Yes,
the
but
only thing is categorization should be
correct.
If it is a long-term capital loss, has to be offset against long-term capital loss from shares or properties.
Correct.
Right? But
yes.
if it is a short-term capital loss, it can be offset against both long-term as well as
short-term.
As well as the short-term.
Yes.
So there is no issue on
No
that.
issues.
Right.
Whatever may be the property, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, such cases are quite large in numbers, and it's good that you answered this particular section.
Yes, thank you.
The question that comes to my mind is, you said this can be carried forward,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
But income tax works with certain dates. If somebody has forgotten to file the tax return, or there is a delay, either accidentally, deliberate, whatever it is, are there any restrictions or the timelines where you can say that I will not allow carry forward of this losses?
Okay. Now, here one needs to understand certain things very specifically. Now, if there is any incomes which are earned and under the same head of income during that particular year only, that is intra-head incomes or inter-head adjustments between the two heads, any incomes and one more head there is a loss, those can be offset at whatever point in time. There is no restriction as such. But after offsetting of all these things, if there remains any negative incomes, that is losses from any one particular head, maybe because that cannot be or specifically prohibited from offsetting against another income which is earned by you during the year. So such losses can be carried forward to the future years. This is only about carrying forward of losses. Can be carried forward only if one files the return of income within the due date of filing the return of income, which is primarily given for that particular year. Primarily for a non-audit case, the due date is 31st of July. And for audit cases, the due date for filing the return of income would be 31st of October.
Okay.
So
only if you file it within the due date, you are allowed to carry forward.
Correct.
So it's a penalty for taxpayer if you have not filed or you are doing it subsequently, then this carry forward losses will not be allowed for you.
Yes.
Right. That's a good point to keep in mind. Some people might have totally forgotten and they come back and say that let's offset it now. That's not possible.
Not possible.
But while filing, even if there is a delay in filing the income tax return, what has to be offset during that particular year, intra-head, that can be done. Future years it cannot be carried forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Sriram, I often get to hear two terminologies people use. One is called carry forward losses.
Correct.
Another uses brought forward losses. Is it one and the same? Is it just the grammar that for this year it is carry forward, next year it is brought forward, or is there any other meaning for this?
You are bang on target. If one has losses during this year and he is allowed to be carried forward, that losses to the future years. Next year when you are filing the return of income, you will be having some brought forward losses from earlier years.
Okay.
There is nothing but the carry forward losses of earlier years which is brought forward to this year.
And the rules will remain
Rules will remain the same. The offsetting has to be done within the same head.
Yes. In the same manner. And the same chronological order.
Yes.
Right.
There is no other variation to this.
Right. One another question that is there in my mind is, I remember reading in a newspaper something called, if there is a conflict which happens while setting off losses, the system which favors the taxpayer has to be taken into account and not which is favorable to the authority.
Yes.
I can't get the details of it. Can you just briefly tell me what it is and in what cases it will come?
See, normally what happens is that normally this hierarchy will be followed generally and there cannot be any conflict as such. However, under certain fact and circumstances, there is a possibility that the tax calculation may differ due to varied rate of taxes applicable to some specific type of incomes what a particular individual may earn during the year. So because of that, if there is an income under that head and losses under other head and offsetting of that is inter-head offsetting of income, during that period it might happen that if you offset against a particular income, the tax liability for the taxpayer may come lesser. Whereas if you change that offsetting and offset against some other income which is taxable at lower rate of taxes, then the tax liability for the taxpayer may be more. So always it used to happen that the taxpayer would take the most beneficial route to him, whereas the tax authorities, they used to dispute saying that no, it has to be offset against this. These matters have gone to the courts and courts have held that whichever is more beneficial to the SSC has to be followed, and there are also board circulars of CBDT which is clarifying that whichever is most beneficial method to the taxpayer, that has to be followed.
Okay.
So this is how it has to be done.
So, Mr. Sriram, thank you very much for your time. It's a great information, a lot of simplicity, understanding how one can offset the losses that arise in a year, within that year or in the future years. I'm very sure my audience today is well informed on this particular subject. Thank you very much on behalf of NRI Money Clinic and on behalf of my audience for bringing all this information to everyone's benefit. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Dear viewers, hope the video that we have done today with respect to the losses that might come in your business or in your day-to-day transaction, how it can be offset against some other income, please like this video. If you are a person who is watching this channel for the first time, or if you are yet to subscribe for this channel, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and relatives. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you with yet another topic, yet another video very, very soon.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.